Thank you for watching our extended edition of Coffee with the Candidates. Today we're talking with South Carolina Senator and Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
We're also here with a group of undecided Republican voters here in Iowa who have been asking Senator Scott some questions. Krista, we're going to have you start this part. We have a question about some of the commercials they've seen in Iowa. You have many that are on air. It's that time of year here in Iowa. You have a question about one of his commercials.
Okay. Oh, okay. You say in your commercials, no handouts, no excuses. What's your plan to implement this statement?
Yeah, so one of the things that we should look at is I was a kid raised in a single parent household, mired in poverty. The one thing I had going for me at that time was a mother who worked 16-hour days as a nurse's aide. So she was at the bottom of the food chain in the hospital. She worked for slightly more than minimum wage. But those 16 hours kept the lights on most of the time and food on the table most days. Not every day, but most days. And one of the lessons she taught me growing up was, if you can do it for yourself, it is your responsibility to do it for yourself. And so when I talk about if you're able-bodied in America, you work, reinstating welfare reform that includes work requirements is a necessary step, in my opinion, to restoring the dignity of the recipient of any assistance. If they can do it for themselves, we should fully encourage them by the weight of our government to go find a job. There are 7 million open jobs in America today. If you want to work, there's lots of opportunities. We need to make sure that every single able-bodied American is encouraged, and I say that kindly, with a big push in the direction of work, to go to work. It'll save us money, but more importantly, it will restore their dignity.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dick, you have the next question, and as we mentioned, you have spent time, as Senator Scott thanked you for.
Green Beret.
Right. You have a question a little bit about the U.S. military.
I think, did you star in John Rambo?
Pardon me?
Were you in Rambo?
No.
Okay.
Hey, asking the
way
questions
above
now,
that.
the real questions.
We thought about that for a minute.
But he'll remind us, in my years of military service, we are always trained to win wars and keep America free.
Amen.
That was our job. But now the military, and I have friends in, that are being distracted with issues like gender identity, transsexual issues, gay issues, prohibitions on chaplains using the Bible or referring to God in their work in the military service, even though we proclaim that we are one nation under God.
Yes.
So what would you do to fix that problem in the military service and focus on combat readiness?
Yes, sir. Well, number one, I said it before, I'm not sure if I said it on air, but thank you for your service, number one. Number two, we should purge all social experimentation out of the United States military, period. Full stop. It's got to go. Whether it's ESG, whether it's DEI, whether it's gender issues, vaccine mandates, we have missed, for the last couple of years, our recruiting goals in at least 2 of the branches of our military. Much of the reason why kids today, young adults today, don't want to serve is because they believe that the unfocused military of today is not a place to serve their country. We can change that by getting back to 2 primary objectives. One is lethality, going and winning, and the number 2 is coming home safe. If we had that kind of focus, we'd have more men and women wanting to serve our country. Before we came on the air, I made a joke about the fact that I have 2 brothers. One is an ugly guy, and the other one's good looking. But they both served in the military. One is an Air Force guy, 26 years, retired as a colonel. My other brother, older brother, the good-looking guy, served in the Army, like you, 32 years, retired as a command sergeant major. The one thing I hear from both my brother who went to the Air Force Academy and my brother who was an enlisted man is that our men and women cannot be distracted when they're in theater. They can only have one focus. Anything else, not only is it a distraction, it is dangerous. Yes. Final thing I'd say, sir, Dick, is that not only do we need to make sure that we have a single-minded focus for our military, we need to make sure that they have the resources necessary to do the job we intend for them to do. We spend $900, 50 or so, somewhere around $900 billion on our military. Too much of it, as you suggested, is distracted someone else's sacred cow that they embed in the military budget. That's wrong. We should purge that spending out of the military budget and make sure that whatever is in the military budget is germane to war fighting, equipping the war fighter, or being safe and providing the services and benefits to the war fighter. That's the focus. Anything else other than that is not only a distraction, but as I said earlier, I think it's dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, sir.
Our next question is going to come from Krista on how to make America more independent.
Yes, my next question is, what do you propose to make the U.S. independent on pharmaceutical drugs and electronic components?
Wonderful. You must have read my plan.
Yes, I did.
Oh, she did read my plan. Someone say hallelujah. Okay. Sorry. So I focus a lot on my build, not borrow plan, which is also embedded within my build, not borrow, is Made in America, where I focus on medicine, microchips, our military. I think there's a way for us to bring home our high-tech manufacturing and become resilient, have our supplies made in America. I created something I talked about a little earlier called Opportunity Zones. Opportunity Zones 2.0 would give a tax incentive to bring our factories home from China so that we are making it here. Our microchips and our minerals, I didn't say minerals earlier, but are so important for the future of this economy. We have to be resilient. For a long time, we spent our time focusing on the cost of our supply chain. Really what we were focusing on was the price of our supply chain. What we learned during COVID, the cost of being dependent on China is very high, higher than the price. And so I would focus on supply chain resiliency. So we embed within our supply chain the ability to take care of ourselves and our Western partners. When we are loyal to our allies and lethal to our adversaries and not codependent on China, we have a stronger, healthier economy, but also freer people. I started and ran a few businesses. And the one thing I can tell you, I never liked waiting for someone to show up with my supplies. I wanted to get it done. And so everything I could do to create insulation for my business so that I was successful, but also so that my employees were successful, was resiliency. And so I focus a lot of my attention as an elected official on what I did in the real world of the private sector, creating jobs.
And Dick has a question also on American independence, but more specifically on energy.
Well, we recently enjoyed energy independence, as you well know.
Yes.
But we're subject to the high prices of unfriendly suppliers.
Yes.
And which is counterproductive. And then we sold part of our strategic petroleum reserve to a Chinese defense contractor, which is an abomination. So what will you do to restore energy independence, which will restore our economy as well?
Yes, sir. For me, the answer is simple. Unleash all of our energy resources we have as a country. For a very long time, we have and still have, we had and still have three, whether we add coal, gas, and oil together, we have more energy than any other location on the planet. Not just in our hemisphere, on the planet. So what we need to do is unleash all those resources to create high-paying jobs. A part of that build, not borrow plan that we were talking about earlier, it creates approximately 3 million new jobs in the energy sector by unleashing our energy resources. But I don't want to just be energy independent. I want to be energy dominant. I want to make sure that we are helping to set the price of all energy around the globe. If you think about the fact that China was at one point building a new coal-fired plant, big ones, every 7 days. Their economy slowed, so that slowed a little bit too. But all the environmental impact that happens in China comes here in 17 days. 14 to 17 days it takes the wind to blow back here. Why not create energy here where we have cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 20 or 25 years. We make it cleaner, better, more efficient in America. Why ship our jobs to a place that's going to destroy the environment, destroy our jobs, and steal from us to then compete against us? Like, that's where I say, duh. You know, it's a simple answer to a very important and powerful question that will determine the next 50 years of our country's future.
Could we send the EPA to China?
Let me write that legislation right now. Yes, experiment. I've often talked about moving the agencies from Washington out into the country, because one of the things that we do, 6 of the most affluent counties in America are around Washington, because when you aggregate the power and the resources, people live there. If you export, so to speak, those jobs out of Washington, I think they spend less money and they meet real people. EPA to China might not be a bad idea, but it's the first time I've got that one.
Talking about China
Yes, ma'am.
and farmland and Iowa, Joyce has a question for you about China.
Well, as you know, China has purchased thousands
Yes.
of acres and farmland in our country. And what is your plan to prevent China from purchasing more? And would you reverse that,
Yes.
make
So-
them give it back?
Yeah, there's something. I'm the leading Republican on the banking committee, so I've spent some time understanding our sanctions authority and some of the weapons that we have in our warfare that are not missiles and bullets. We have economic weapons that we should be using that we haven't used as effectively as we possibly could. One of those weapons is called CFIUS. It's just an acrostic, and basically what it does is it allows us to peer into company ownership, so that we uncover the shell companies that allow the Chinese to sneak into our country and buy our farmlands or spy on our kids or steal our intellectual property. By using CFIUS, it is a national security tool to allow us to root out the ownership, take back what belongs to the American people and to the state of Iowa, where buying farmland is really important, as well as South Carolina. Getting that done and using that in a more robust way would be incredibly helpful. And then we should not only use it once, we should use that as a blanket so that we are able to use it universally across our country to understand where those shell companies are, where those purchases are. But if we're going to actually stop China, we can't just stop with farmland. We can't just stop with intellectual property. We actually have to look at the Confucius Institutes that are on college campuses. We have 300,000 Chinese students on college campuses. Too many of them are reporting back to the Chinese Communist Party. And that's a fact. We saw 2 Americans of Chinese descent that were caught in our military. So we have real work to do. We should not ever think of China as a friend. We should not think about the Confucius Institutes as just a language destiny. And we should be very careful not to have Chinese companies landing in our states around the country.
On a different topic of another country, Mexico, Krista has a question about Mexican drug cartels.
Yeah, in your commercials you say you plan to take down the Mexican cartels.
Yes, ma'am.
I know this won't be simple, but what's your plan and your timeline, because it's so critical?
Absolutely. One of the things I do immediately, once again, on my banking committee where I'm the leading Republican, I have sponsored legislation that would freeze the assets and sanction the accounts of the Mexican cartels. They have a net worth of over $20 billion. Cutting off the money is like cutting off the oxygen to the cartels. That bill that I wrote earlier this year passed through the banking committee 23-0. It is now a part of the National Defense Authorization Act. It should be law, hopefully before this year is out, which then allows us to target those accounts to freeze their assets. Additionally, I would use the power of the presidency to stop the cartels from killing lives on our side of the border. Never say what you'll never do, We've had candidates obviously saying, we'll shoot them as they cross the border, we'll bomb them where they are. I think the best thing to do is to use all the available resources of the presidency to get Mexico to comply. And if they won't do it, we must.
Dick, you have the next question.
Well, our Attorney General, Merrick Garland, consistently claims to provide equal justice under the law, which we know is a blatant lie.
Absolutely.
What
do.
would you do to clean up the totally corrupt DOJ?
Yeah, sir. Thank you for the question. I would say number one, let's fire Joe Biden so I can fire Merrick Garland. That would be step number one. Number two, I would also fire Christopher Wray and clean out every single presidential appointee in the Department of Justice. The one thing we must have is Lady Justice wearing a blindfold. This Department of Justice hunts Republicans while protecting Democrats, including the Biden family. Overcoming that means returning the blindfold to Lady Justice and treating every American fairly. I would do that by restoring confidence and integrity through the elimination of all the presidential appointees and redirecting our Department of Justice of dealing with each individual in the same way, no matter your last name and no matter your title.
When you're filling those spots, are you jumping in with
Yes.
follow-up here?
There you go.
When you're filling those spots, if you were president,
Yeah.
how would you avoid going back and forth between, if there's a Democratic president after you that comes in and refills all of the new appointees? I mean, how would you appoint new people to the Department of Justice without politicizing the system even further?
I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you become president, hopefully your goal is to eliminate, particularly President Biden's, all of his officials. They all need to go. And so there is a political component that I'm not going to run from that is really important to reinforcing and reestablishing fairness and justice in this nation. I know the importance of that personally. And what I want this nation to feel is respect for all law enforcement on the local level, but on the federal level as well. One of the challenges that we have today is only 17%, 17% of Republicans trust the Department of Justice. Our country cannot abide if we have chaos in the streets and no confidence in the federal Justice Department. And so I would eliminate them all, and hopefully I would have 2 terms, and solidifying objectivity and integrity would make the next administration want to keep my knobs.
Well, talking a little bit more about law enforcement and chaos on the streets, crime is something that I hear a lot from voters who are concerned
Yes.
about that. And Joyce has a question about crime as well.
Well, we recently returned from a visit to Philadelphia,
Ooh.
and
Sorry.
they were having the flash mob robberies at that time. Well, you're putting all these businesses out of business.
Billions of dollars of damages.
Something has to be done.
Yes, ma'am.
And what would you do?
Well, the police chief resigned from that chaotic hot mess over there. 50 arrests, it's flash in the pan. We have to restore law and order, especially in these big blue cities that have Democrats with super majorities, and yet the most vulnerable communities in their cities are the ones that pay the highest price for their poor leadership. One of the things we have to do is understand the root cause of crime. The gospel says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. One of the ways that we restore hope is to bring school choice into every neighborhood and bad neighborhoods. The second thing we do to restore hope, especially to grandmothers like the one that helped raise me when my parents got divorced. My grandmother in the neighborhoods where I grew up, and if she was alive today, she would be trapped in her house from the time the sun goes down until the time the sun comes up the next day, because she was going to be afraid to walk the streets, to go to the store, to leave her house in dark. We must, and I say it in my TV ads, if you commit a violent crime, you go to jail, period. We should also find a way to purge all these liberal DAs that we can, and that would take using the presidential bully pulpit to encourage new elections and to support candidates on the federal level and then on the gubernatorial level that are willing to hold law and order as a high priority in their states and within their municipalities. Because the president can't fire all the DAs in the nation, but we can use the bully pulpit to put pressure on these no bail DAs that are setting people who should be incarcerated free. Our radical left, they'll lock kids into a failing school, but then they'll run to the jail and unlock it and let the criminals out. It's the darndest thing. And so if we were to mix together good quality education in the poorest hit areas and high levels of law and order, we could get things done. I'll close with this comment. I met recently with the mayor of Dallas, Texas, who just became a Republican. And he became a Republican because he was actually succeeding at bringing crime down and opportunity up. And he felt like he was being ostracized from his party. And he gave me 3 pieces of basic advice. First thing he says, we need to teach our citizens to play by the rules. Number 2, there is a maze that leads to success, and the breadcrumbs are all conservative. And number 3, if you don't have law and order, you have chaos. And if you have chaos, the poorest people always pay the highest price.
Well, thank you. That is all the time that we have.
Oh.
Thank you so much for joining us, Senator Scott.
Thank y'all.
And to our panel of Iowa Republicans, thank you for joining. And for the people watching, thank you for watching Coffee with the Candidates. Have a great day.